So for today project, we have to write a code to read input from the keypad and two push button and display them on an LCD. So the requirement is, if first push button is pressed, display your name on the first row of LCD, and if the second push button is pressed, display your student ID on the first row on the LCD. If any keypad is pressed, display the number on the second row of LCD. So so to start the program, we have to write the code here. So the setup for the MPLAB is as the previous video. So for my program, I clear trace B because I want to use the port B as the output for the LCD, and I call setup LCD. So my setup LCD is the subroutine for configure the trace C as input or output. So I will use the port C, RC2, RC4 and RC5 as output, and RC0, RC1 as an input. So that's why I put a binary number here 000 00011, because 11 the last is for RC0 and RC1, and move WF to trace C. Trace C is for setting up the port. If you want to use it as a output, we have to give the value 0, and if we want to use as input, we give the value of 1. So we move LW0x38 because it is for configure the LCD for 2 lines and 5x7 matrix LCD. So call write CMD is this one. We will move the value here on port B because we use port B, and bits clear file RS, clear file RW, and set EN and call delay, and clear EN. That is for send the setup configure to LCD. So after that we move the 0x0C to display, to on the display with the cursor off. So after that we clear the display with 0x01. So this is my setup LCD subroutine. So we go back to the start program, and after I set up the LCD, I use a call line 2. So call line 2 is to force the cursor to second line. As you can see here, this one you can search for the table on the LCD table that come with the LCD. So call write CMD is to give the to send the setup configure to LCD as the one before. So we go back. So after I call line 2, I go check call in button and call in keypad and branch to check. So we will look, it will continuously ask to check the button and the keypad. So for call in button, as you can see here, bit test file SC port C 0A, because I use port C0 as the first button input, and BTS SC port C1 for the second push button. So as you can see here, bit test file skip if clear. So if we don't push the button, it will clear, and skip this, call this name and go check the second button. If this one is pressed, and it will set, and if it set, it will not skip the call button, call this name, and it will call this name. Call this name is to display my name, and call this ID to display my student ID. So this name subroutine is here. Move LW0x01 to clear display, and we send character by using move LW decimal 73 and call write data. So call write data is our subroutine for send display value to LCD. So the different for send setup configure and send display value is this one is RS value is we put it as set on the right to send the display value, but for send setup we clear it, RS is clear. So the value that we want send, we can refer to the ASCII table for every character that we want to send. So it is same as to display my name, but I use it to display ID. So after we finish it, I call line 2 to force it to the second row. So for the keypad, we have to call in keypad. So the keypad subroutine is here. For the keypad, I use a port D as the keypad input and output. So for keypad, we need input output, and that's why I use a move LW binary 00000111 and move WF to trace D, because we want to configure first 3 of port D 012 as the input, and 3, 2, 4, 5 and 6 as the output. So as you can see here, I first bit set clear file port D6, because here is the 6, we set it on the last row here. Here it is. So to start the program, we have to first set file. To set the keypad, we have to set file port D3, because the 3 is for A here to check 1, 2, 3. So we set it here, and we can configure the value here. So to check number 1, we have to bit test file set is skip is set port D0. So port D0 is here for 1, and if it set, it will, if we push the 1 button, it will jump to move LW49 and call write data. So it will send number 1. If we not push it, it will go to brush check, and check 2 is it will go to brush check 2, so it will test the file on the port D1, because and it will change so on and so on. So to check for the 4, we have to clear the bit on port D3, because previously we set it. So as it will confuse the system when we want to pick number 1 or 4. So that's why we will have to clear the port D3 first, because if both of it logic 1, it will confuse the system. So for the 4, it's the same as the one we check port D0, and for 4 check port D1 for 5, and port D2 for 6, and so on and so on. So after we finish write our program here, the delay I use is 0.2 second for 20 megahertz. So I use this delay is because I see it's perfect for the keypad input and the button. So after we finish the program, we have to build the program and wait. So the build is succeed, so we go to file, export, and okay, and go to your file, text file, retouch it. So on the Proteus here, this is my circuit For LCD, I connect it to the port B and port C. And for button, I connect it to port C. And for the keypad, I connect it to the port D. So we have to edit properties and change it to 20 MHz. And go change the file to our hex file. So I use made hex file. So okay, and we run the program. So as you can see, nothing will show because we doesn't press any button yet. So if we want to push the if we want to display number 1, we have to click here number 1, so it will display on the second row as the requirement number 3 said. So as you can see, we can just display every number here. So if we want to display my name on the first row, we have to push the push button 1 here. So it will display my name on the first row. So if we want to display the student ID, we have to press the second button. So it will display the student ID. And as you can see, it display the student ID here first on the first row. And if we push the button here, it will display the number on the second row without clearing the first row. So as you can see, every number here have the value display on the second row of the LCD. So that's all from me. And if you want to run my program yourself, you can download the program from my GitHub. The link will be put on the description below. Okay, thank you.